Today we're going to continue our lesson finding or find the whole, and we're referring to it in our formula as the total. So total or whole amount. And just to recall, yesterday we used a formula, and so for all these problems I need you to show your work. So I'm going to start with that formula. We use part equals rate times total. So when we read through the problem, we're looking for numbers to replace the part and numbers to replace the rate, known as the percentage rate, but we won't know the total. So that's going to stay T in this lesson. So May raked 40% of the yard and filled up 12 bags of leaves. How many bags will she need to rake the whole yard? So we're going to start by highlighting important information. The minute I see a percentage, I know that that is representing my percentage rate. So we're going to be able to replace or substitute 40% where the R is. Next, I see 12 bags. So she filled 12 bags of leaves. Okay? So she filled 12 bags of leaves. So that is part of the entire amount of bags she's going to need. The question is, how many bags will she need for the whole yard? And they kind of give us a clue word there. So we're going to substitute in this formula. We're going to put the part, which is 12. We're going to put the percentage rate, which is 40%. And then we don't know the total, or the total number of bags she's going to need for the whole yard. Next, as mentioned earlier, and I'm going to do this kind of little sidebar, I need to divide 40 by 100 because that is making my percentage into a decimal. So you can pause and use your calculator if you need to, and if not, go ahead and copy this down with us. So we now, this 12 stays 12. The 40% in decimal form becomes 0.4, or 4/10. You could also write it as 40 hundredths, 40 hundredths. And then we also need to bring our T down. Now, once again, I had problems with this yesterday. I don't have quite enough room to solve this. So I'm going to move this equation. All I'm doing is moving it up so that I can have room to solve. So this is our equation. And solving involves an opposite operation. I want this T all by itself, and I want 0.4 to go away. And we have to figure out mathematically how to make it eliminate. So if I look at this, 0 and 4/10 T are side by side, which means 0.4 is multiplying the variable T, or whatever that total is. And so the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I'm going to divide by 0.4 on both sides. And so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause and use your calculator to see what 12 divided by 0.4 is. And the answer is 30. So 30 equals T. And once again, let's read what we just found. How many bags will she need to rake the yard? So she needs 30 bags. And that we can write here on this line. So let's write 30 bags. All right, let's try one more together. Let's read along for number 2, and then I'm going to ask you to try the next 4 on your own. This says 95% of the ducks in the pond were swimming. If 57 ducks were swimming, how many were in the pond? So let's go ahead and highlight this information. We see 95%, and when we see a percent, we know that's going to be our rate, our percentage rate. We see 57 ducks were swimming, okay? And so that's the part of them that were swimming, and it asks how many ducks were in the pond. So that's the total. Only part of them were swimming. So let's go ahead and set up our P equals R times T, which means part equals percentage rate times total. We know that 56 ducks were swimming, And we know that that's 95% of the total ducks. So this is what our equation should look like. Next, we're going to take 95, and I just usually do my figure work off to the side because it's kind of is not part of my equation. I just need to convert this percentage to a decimal. So this now becomes 57 equals 0 and 95 hundredths t. So now I just feel like I need a little bit more room to solve. So I'm going to move this equation up, not because we have to rewrite it. I just need more room that's on this paper. And if you feel like you have enough room, that's great. We are to the solving step, and the solving step requires me to eliminate the number next to the variable. And once again, 0 and 95 hundredths is next to t, which means that it's multiplying t. So we do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. And the number we want to eliminate is 0 and 95 hundredths. So we have to do that on both sides. So now if you take your calculator, and first of all, I didn't acknowledge this last time, but this part eliminates. We don't have to use a calculator for that part. We can just say, okay, that's how we isolated our t. We undid that number. But now I want you to take 57 in your calculator and divide it by 0.95 and see what you get. So hopefully the answer that you got in your calculator was 60, and that's what equals the total. So now we need to figure out total of what. So it says how many were in the pond. Well, it's referring to ducks. So we're going to say there are 60 total ducks in that pond. So I'm going to write the answer now here. And I'd love for you to label what we're talking about. Okay, so now I'd like you to go ahead and try 3, 4, 5, and 6 on your own. Have a wonderful afternoon. Take care.